You're driving home after a long day. You have not had anything to drink, or maybe you had one drink hours ago. Then you see the flashing lights in your mirror. The officer walks up, leans into your window, and starts asking questions about alcohol. Have you been drinking tonight? Where are you coming from? This scenario happens to thousands of drivers every year. Some are intoxicated, many are not. But what you say and do in the next few minutes can affect whether you are arrested, whether you lose your license, and how strong your defense is later. Most people panic. They start talking too much, explaining where they were, how much they had, or why they are nervous. That can give the officer more reasons to suspect intoxication, even if you are completely sober. But you do not have to make that mistake. Stick with me, and you will walk away knowing what to expect, what to say, and what you're legally required to do during a DUI traffic stop. Before I give you the details, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you do not miss an update. The first thing to understand is that you are always required to provide your driver's license, vehicle registration, and proof of insurance. That is the law in every state. Beyond that, you have the right to remain silent. You do not have to answer questions like, where are you going, or have you been drinking? The Fifth Amendment protects you from self-incrimination. You can politely say, "Officer, I'm going to remain silent." Then stop talking. The officer may become frustrated, but you are not being rude. You are exercising a constitutional right. However, do not be rude or combative. Officers note attitude in their reports. If you argue or become hostile, they will write combative and uncooperative, and may use that to justify further investigation. A calm, respectful, but silent approach is far more effective. Now, let me walk you through what the officer is trained to look for. Police officers use a checklist of physical and behavioral signs that they believe indicate intoxication. These include odor of alcohol, which they often claim to smell when you open your mouth. Slurred speech. Nervousness can sound like slurring to a trained ear. Bloodshot or watery eyes, caused by fatigue, allergies, or many other factors. Unsteady on your feet, nerves or physical conditions. And confused responses. Again, fear can cause confusion. Almost any of these can be noted in a police report as signs of intoxication, even if you are completely sober. The key is to minimize what the officer can observe. Keep your answers short, keep your hands visible, and do not volunteer extra information. The next thing you need to know is about field sobriety tests. In most states, you're not legally required to participate in roadside field sobriety tests. These are the tests where the officer asks you to walk in a straight line, stand on one leg, or follow a pen with your eyes. The officer may make it sound mandatory, but it is generally your choice. There's a catch. In many states, refusing to perform these tests can be used as a reason to arrest you and can lead to a driver's license suspension under implied consent laws. But from a criminal defense standpoint, you should know that you can be completely sober and still fail these tests. Nerves, physical injuries, weight, age, or even the weather can affect your balance and coordination. You do not have a legal obligation to help the officer build a case against you. If you choose to refuse, do so politely. "Officer, I do not wish to perform field sobriety tests. I'm exercising my right to remain silent." If you choose to take them, ask the officer to explain each instruction clearly and even demonstrate. And always tell the officer if you are nervous, tired, or have any physical condition that might affect your performance. Now let's talk about breath and blood testing. This is the most misunderstood part of DUI stops. Many states have implied consent laws. That means when you drive on public roads, you're considered to have already agreed to provide a breath or blood sample if an officer has probable cause to believe you are driving under the influence. The penalty for refusing a breath or blood test is often an automatic driver's license suspension, usually for 6 months to a year, and in some states, the refusal itself can be used as evidence against you in court. However, refusing can also make it harder for the prosecutor to prove your exact blood alcohol content at the time of driving. This is a personal decision that depends on your state's laws and your specific situation. I cannot give blanket advice to always consent or always refuse. The most important thing is to understand your state's implied consent law before you ever get behind the wheel. One important distinction: many officers carry a small portable breath tester, PBT. In some states, like Texas, the results of a PBT are not admissible in court. In other states, they may be used. Research the law in your state. The station-based breathalyzer, usually called the intoxilyzer, is generally admissible. Blood tests are also admissible, but they require a warrant in most states unless you consent. The officer must follow strict procedures for collecting, storing, and testing blood samples. If those procedures are not followed, your lawyer can challenge the results in court. Here is something else to keep in mind. The timing of a breath or blood test matters. If you provide a sample hours after driving, your blood alcohol level may have risen or fallen. A later test result does not automatically prove your level at the time of driving. An experienced DUI defense attorney can use this to challenge the evidence. Now, let me summarize the 5 key points you need to remember from this video. Number 1, Provide your license, registration, and insurance. That is required. After that, you have the right to remain silent. Exercise it politely. Number 2, do not over-explain. The officer is looking for any sign to note in his report. Short, calm answers are best. If you choose to stay silent, say, "I'm exercising my right to remain silent," and then stop speaking. Number 3, you generally do not have to perform field sobriety tests. If you choose to take them, be aware that you can fail even when sober. Ask for clear instructions and tell the officer about any physical conditions. Number 4, understand your state's implied consent law. Refusing a breath or blood test can lead to a license suspension, but it may also prevent the state from having a reliable BAC reading. This is a decision you should think about before you drive. Number 5, never argue with the officer on the side of the road. The fight is not there. The fight is in court with your lawyer. Your goal is to give the officer as little ammunition as possible. Stay calm, be respectful, and protect your right to a fair defense later. Let me give you a full example of how a safe interaction might sound. Officer says, "Have you been drinking tonight?" You say, "Officer, I'm going to remain silent. Here's my license and registration." Officer says, "Step out of the car for some tests." You say, "I do not wish to perform field sobriety tests. I'm invoking my right to remain silent." Officer says, "If you refuse, I will arrest you for DUI." You say, "I understand. I'm still exercising my rights. I will not answer questions without my attorney present." Then you remain silent. That is not rude. It is lawful. The officer may arrest you anyway, but you have preserved every possible defense for your lawyer. Now, what if you are arrested? At that point, you will be taken to a station. You still have the right to remain silent and the right to a lawyer. If you are asked to take a breath or blood test, you need to know your state's implied consent rules. Some states require you to submit or lose your license. Others allow you to refuse with fewer consequences. This is why it is essential to know the laws of your state before you ever need them. Also, always remember that you can record the encounter. In most states, it is legal to record police officers as long as you do not interfere. A video can capture the officer's behavior, your calm responses, and the conditions of the stop. That evidence can be crucial in court. Practice these phrases at home. Say them out loud. When you are on the side of the road with blue lights behind you, you do not want to think. You want your mouth to know what to say automatically. And remember, none of this is legal advice for your specific situation. DUI laws vary dramatically from state to state. What works in Texas may be completely wrong in California. If you are ever charged with a DUI, consult a local DUI defense attorney who knows the judges, prosecutors, and procedures in your area. If this video helped you understand what to expect during a DUI traffic stop, hit that like button right now. It helps more people find these videos when they need them. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss an update when I post new breakdowns of police interactions and your rights. And drop a comment below. Have you ever been through a DUI stop? What happened? I read every comment, and I will see you in the next video.